This poor girl was so poor that she had no place to live, and on top of that, she was fired from her job. While she didn't know how she would live the next few days, she suddenly received a phone call. The lawyer gave the girl her deceased father's will. According to the will, In-ha was the heir to his property. The father had a bank deposit and an old villa in his name. In-ha's life seemed to be saved in difficult times. She held the key in her hand and found her way to that villa. It was a large villa, but it seemed to have been abandoned for a long time. The villa was covered in cobwebs. In-ha followed the light to the basement and saw a strange coffin placed in the center. In-ha was very curious, so she pushed it open to take a look. She was surprised to see a young man with white skin inside. She was startled when that person opened his eyes wide and looked at her. Suddenly, the candles around her lit up. Gu-won slowly climbed out of the coffin, which made In-ha extremely frightened. Gu-won said that she was the descendant of the butler Jew. Gu-won also told her not to panic because he was human now. Meanwhile, on the opposite side, In-ha did not understand what was happening and what this man was babbling about. In-ha asked who he was. Gu-won immediately replied that he was the owner of this villa. He kept saying things that she could not understand. He said that he had slept here for 100 years. He became human thanks to the butler Jew. Hearing those confusing words made In-ha unable to bear it anymore, so she immediately kicked him out. At that moment, Gu-won smelled blood. His craving after 100 years of not eating anything began to arise. But In-ha thought that he was acting very perverted, so she immediately gave him a hard slap. The slap made Gu-won remember that he hadn't looked in the mirror yet, so he immediately went to it and anxiously waited for the result in the mirror. Gu-won's figure only appeared vaguely. He felt something was wrong. He asked In-ha what day it was today. When she said that today was only the 8th day, Gu-won's hands and feet trembled. Only then did he know that it was only 1 day short of 100 years. Gu-won blamed all the mistakes on In-ha. It turned out that he was not human, but a vampire. But because Gu-won wanted to have a beautiful love with a human, he decided to sleep in a coffin for 100 years to become a human. At that time, his two close brothers firmly opposed it. On one hand, it was very dangerous for him. On the other hand, they also didn't believe that when Gu-won did that, he could become human. But Gu-won still wanted to believe it, and only when he tried would he know if it was true or not. After all, it was the only way at that time. Before leaving, he handed over this villa to Butler Jew. Because he was human, he would no longer be in this world after 100 years. Butler Jew promised him that his descendants would continue to protect this villa. Unexpectedly, In-ha did not know what was going on. On the 99th day, she accidentally woke up Gu-won. Gu-won was furious and blamed her for waking him up a day early. He had endured everything to stay there for 100 years, but she appeared and ruined all his efforts and waiting. Before Gu-won could suck In-ha's blood, she bit him back, causing him to faint and lie on the cold ground. When In-ha had just left, she turned around and saw that Gu-won had passed out. She was shocked to know that his heart was no longer beating. Gu-won was immediately taken to the emergency room. The doctors tried their best to make his heart beat again, but they couldn't. They didn't know that a vampire's heart doesn't beat. In-ha was devastated when the doctor announced that the young man had passed away. She couldn't believe it was true. At the same time, a traffic accident patient was brought in right next to Gu-won. He smelled fresh blood and suddenly woke up. His bloodlust came back. He was angry that he hadn't completely become human, but was just lying on the border. On the other side, the doctor was shocked to see that he had woken up again. In-ha heard that and ran in to check, and she had the same feeling. Gu-won was still very angry. He told her to go home and talk. She kept asking if he was okay, or if he needed any further tests. But Gu-won's appearance didn't look like someone who had come back to life. In-ha was quite shocked when she knew that the hospital bill was up to 300,000 won, but there was no other way. She had to take out her card to pay. On the other side, Gu-won saw everything, but didn't understand what she was doing. Outside, the two continued to argue. In-ha thought he was an intruder. Gu-won blamed her for waking him up a day earlier. After that, In-ha decided to take a taxi home, leaving Gu-won alone in the strange city. He explored everything about modern life alone. It had changed so much after 100 years of hibernation. Everything around him was new to him, from people to houses. Gu-won stood in front of the mirror. He saw his shadow vaguely, but his blood-sucking instinct was still the same as before. He felt like he was on the border between humans and vampires. On this side, as soon as the new day came, Dong-seop and Sang-hae were there to open the coffin lid. They were Gu-won's two younger brothers from 100 years ago. The two prepared candles and a giant cake to hold a party to welcome Gu-won. But when they entered the basement, they were shocked when they couldn't find him anywhere. Seeing the broken mirror, they were sure that something had happened. Gu-won was asking for directions home, but when he read the old address, no one knew. He suddenly remembered that there was a tailor shop near his house. Fortunately, the tailor shop still kept its old name until now. Gu-won followed the map that the two girls showed him, and he was finally happy to find it. Gu-won went up to compliment the owner that he was handsome, just like his ancestors. The owner was surprised and didn't understand what was going on. Gu-won then went to his villa, and inside, he looked at the objects that had been the same for 100 years. Gu-won changed into a nice suit with the intention of sleeping another day, but when he entered the basement, he discovered the coffin had caught fire. At the same time, In-ha packed his luggage to move to a new place. These two people with a fateful relationship met again, and they continued to fight over this house. Both of them thought that this was their house. In-ha wanted Gu-won to show evidence such as a contract or land ownership papers. Gu-won asked about the key she had in her hand because it was what he gave to manage manager Ju. That meant she was his descendant. In-ha was annoyed to have to listen to nonsense from Gu-won again. To prove that he was a vampire, Gu-won had to reveal his true identity. He opened his mouth but couldn't see any fangs. He tried a few more times but couldn't. The superpowers he used to have suddenly disappeared. He wanted In-ha to look into his eyes to show her that his eyes would change color, but the color of his eyes didn't change, and he could only see his own silhouette very clearly in her eyes. This was really different from when he looked at himself in the mirror. Gu-won focused on those eyes, causing In-ha to misunderstand that he was a pervert. In-ha immediately chased him out of the villa. She also warned him not to mention vampires or anything similar again. In-ha went to the convenience store to eat instant noodles. At that moment, she saw Gu-won doing something with the trash can. She immediately discovered he and seemed very hungry because she felt sorry for him. In-ha invited him a bowl of noodles. When he opened it, he felt this magical scent was as attractive as the smell of blood. He ate the whole bowl of noodles deliciously. After eating, he stood up and clapped his hands, praising it as delicious, making In-ha next to him feel embarrassed. Looking into In-ha's eyes, he suddenly remembered his first love, Hae-seon. He called her name, making In-ha panic. He remembered the images of the two of them together, that beautiful moment that he could never forget. Gu-won was then awakened by the owner of the restaurant. When he woke up, he couldn't see In-ha anymore. On the way back, Gu-won met Yeong-nam again. He also knew that Gu-won had not really become human yet. Here Gu-won told him about a girl waking him up a day earlier. Hearing this, Yeong-nam wondered why, because the coffin was not easy to open. He implied that In-ha might be someone very special to Gu-won. The next morning, In-ha hurried to her old house. They were demolishing the house while her belongings had not been moved yet. She wanted to go in to get her things, but they did not allow it. The manager had someone throw all of In-ha's things from upstairs. At that moment, Do-sik appeared and reprimanded his employees for these uncivilized actions. He approached In-ha to ask. It turned out that the two used to know each other. Do-sik was a senior at the same school and 1 year older than her. Do-sik is confused when he knows that In-ha was scammed and is now demolishing the house. Do-sik offers to help, but In-ha thinks that she is doing quite well now. Before saying goodbye, he leaves his business card, saying that if anything happens, she can call him anytime. That night, In-ha encounters the scammer on the street. When he sees her, he runs away and she runs after him. When she crosses the street, In-ha almost gets into an accident. In-ha's bite mark suddenly appears on Gu-won's neck. It seems that when In-ha is in danger, Gu-won will feel the pain. Gu-won quickly goes to In-ha. He takes out the blood bottle that Yeong-nam gave him earlier. To become human, his duty is to protect In-ha. If she dies, all his efforts will be for nothing. Gu-won drinks the blood bottle and his supernatural ability reappears. With just one stomp, he flew up to the roof of the tall building. He sensed In-ha's location on the other side. She chased the scammer to a dark alley but couldn't find him. Suddenly, he appeared and prepared to kill In-ha. At that moment, Gu-won jumped down from above. He flew over and kicked the robber a few dozen meters away. Despite his continuous punches, he was unharmed. The iron bar was bent by Gu-won like a toy. The robber took a knife and slashed his handsome face. But with just a swipe of Gu-won's hand, the wound healed. He threw the scammer away without any effort. In-ha sat beside him and witnessed everything. Now she truly believed that Gu-won was a vampire like he had said. Although she was very scared when standing in front of a vampire, when she saw the scammer running away, she immediately chased after him. She accidentally dropped her wallet. Gu-won saw it and picked it up for her. On the other side, the police also arrived at the right time. They escorted him to the station, and In-ha also wanted to go with him. At the police station, the scammer told everything. What about the vampire with sharp fangs? What about the extraordinary abilities of the man in the black suit? The police could not believe the nonsense that came out of the scammer's mouth. The scammer also asked In-ha to stand up and testify for what he had just said. After thinking for a while, she decided not to tell the police the truth about Gu-won. At that moment, many other scam victims appeared to demand their money back from him. On the way back home, Gu-won passed by a shopping mall. He felt curious, so he wanted to go in and explore. Here, he tried on many branded clothes. Because of his handsomeness, he found each one very suitable and satisfactory. The staff next to him had to look at this customer in surprise. When the staff asked Gu-won what form of payment he wanted, Gu-won immediately remembered In-ha's wallet. He took out the card and wanted to pay for everything at once. When he went out, he even praised how powerful this card was. When he got home, Gu-won met In-ha at the door. She was curious about the branded items he was holding in his hand. Gu-won immediately took out her payment card and said that it had run out of credit. In-ha went from surprise to anger. She was really helpless about what Gu-won was doing. Meanwhile, Gu-won sat there exploring the new things she had just bought. In-ha kept scolding him. She also said that her headphones were about to break, but she didn't dare to buy new ones because she was stingy with money, yet he dared to use her money to buy an expensive AirPod. In-ha seemed unable to bear it anymore. She couldn't get the money she was scammed from, and Gu-won had already spent all the money in her card. In-ha has always lived very frugally. She has no family or friends and has no plans to get married. She doesn't want to ask for help or bother anyone, so money is the only way she can protect herself. After hearing these words from In-ha, Gu-won felt a little guilty, so he promised to return all that money to her. Gu-won went down to the basement to get back the gold he had hidden before. He excitedly opened the chest, but then the smile on his lips suddenly disappeared. There was no gold, only an empty chest. Gu-won quietly walked out and prepared to receive In-ha's wrap. After hearing his explanation, she didn't say a word. She made him wear those clothes clothes again and took pictures to resell them on social media. A moment later, someone agreed to buy it. She told Gu-won to be at the train station at 2 o'clock tomorrow to meet the buyer. The next day, Gu-won went to the meeting place alone. Surprisingly, the buyer was Sang-hae. Gu-won and his close brother were very happy to see each other again. After a while of talking about everything, they started to get to the main point. Sang-hae wanted a little discount, but Gu-won firmly said no. When it came to money, the brotherhood of all time was no longer important. Then they went to Dong-seop's snack shop. He mixed Gu-won a glass of blood to treat his beloved brother. Gu-won drank it deliciously because he had been lacking energy for a long time. Here, Gu-won asked to borrow 5 million won from his two brothers. Because it was an economic recession, the two brothers immediately turned away. The two brothers were in debt, and now so was Gu-won. From a top figure in the upper class, Gu-won became a debtor after just one hibernation. That day, Do-sik went to In-ha's old house. At that time, she was cleaning everything to move to a new house, so he wanted to help her. On the way, he wondered how she found a new house so quickly. She said that the house was her inheritance. When they just arrived, Gu-won had just returned home. When Do-sik asked who it was, In-ha was confused and explained that Gu-won was an acquaintance of her ancestors. Gu-won shook hands and greeted them, but Do-sik felt that the other person's hands were very cold. In-ha immediately said that he was sick with cold hands and feet. Before leaving, Do-sik still felt strange about that guy. When she went inside, In-ha asked for the money she had just sold the shirt, but after counting, she found that she was still 50,000 won short. Only then did Gu-won realize that Sang-hae had deceived her. She then forced Gu-won to write an IOU for the remaining amount. After a long argument, he agreed to write an IOU and promised to pay it back within 6 months. In-ha also warned him to keep his promise, otherwise she would sell the villa and then quietly leave. The next morning, Gu-won went to Sang-hae. He wanted his younger brother to help him find a way to make money. But first, Gu-won had to get an ID card. Sang-hae forced him to pose for a photo. A moment later, Sang-hae completed the ID card for Gu-won. Although Gu-won's face was a bit unserious, his handsomeness was undeniable. Sang-hae wanted his brother to pay the fee, but Gu-won said that yesterday, Sang-hae had deducted 50,000 won from his money, so it was even. Immediately after that, Sang-hae showed Gu-won to the job introduction center. Gu-won had a wish to do a job that allowed him to wear a suit. Immediately after that, they arranged for him to work as a waiter at a funeral home. This job required him to smell incense smoke all day long, which made him very uncomfortable. A moment later, Gu-won ran away. Inside the funeral home, the manager heard strange sounds. When the manager opened the coffin, he was shocked to see Gu-won sleeping inside. Gu-won and his brother were immediately kicked out. On the way back, Sang-hae still blamed Gu-won for his crazy actions. Suddenly, Gu-won saw a girl selling yogurt on the street, and an idea immediately appeared in his mind. Not long after, Gu-won and Sang-hae transformed into yogurt vendors. The job seemed very fun until Gu-won collided with a young man on a motorbike on the street. The boy approached him, took out some yogurt, and drank it deliciously. After drinking, he threw the bottle straight at Gu-won's face and left. After that incident, Gu-won and Sang-hae were fired again. Gu-won wanted to be paid a little bit of money, but the boss thought it was lucky that he hadn't asked them to pay him back. Gu-won returned home after a hard day's work without earning any money. Now he knows that earning money is not easy at all. In-ha saw that, so she gave him a job to earn money to spend, which was to clean this villa with her. Just like that, the two of them diligently cleaned everything. He also actively helped and supported her. Sometimes the two of them accidentally met or bumped into each other. In a moment, the house became clean and very tidy. It was no different from a luxurious palace. In-ha asked Gu-won how long he had lived here. Gu-won said that he had lived here for about 400 years. She wondered why he wanted to live here and not somewhere else. Gu-won said that he was here to wait for someone. This place was a secret dating spot between him and Hae-seon. He believed that one day she would come back. Gu-won wondered why In-ha was not afraid of a vampire like him. But compared to vampires, In-ha is more afraid of humans. Last time that bastard tricked her, but with a vampire like him, it's different. He even saved her. When In-ha asked why he knew she was in danger that day and came to find her, Gu-won couldn't explain. He said that he just naturally felt it. Gu-won sat on the roof, remembering the moments with Hae-seon. He also saved her life. It was no different from him saving Fro, In-ha's life. He felt that In-ha and Hae-seon really had something very similar. Suddenly, In-ha's bite mark appeared on his neck. He felt something was wrong, so he ran into the house. In-ha was still sitting there, but the chandelier above her head was about to fall. Without thinking much, Gu-won flew over and hugged her. At that moment, he saw a drop of blood on In-ha's mouth. Unable to control his instincts, he kissed her on the lips. In his mind, the memory of his ex-girlfriend's death appeared again. In-ha was surprised and asked what he had just done to her. Then she asked him to put her down. Gu-won immediately asked In-ha if she was Hae-seon. Before he could finish speaking, he received a strong slap from In-ha. Before he could explain further, she continued to beat him up. Gu-won felt something very strange. When he tasted In-ha's blood, he felt like it was Hae-seon's blood. On the other side, In-ha was still upset because her first kiss was with a vampire. She went downstairs and blamed him for that impolite action. Just because of a drop of blood, he didn't hesitate to kiss her lips. She wondered why she had to live with a vampire who could suck her blood at any time. Gu-won explained that he didn't do it on purpose because the blood was right in front of his eyes, so he lost control for a moment. Here, he also made it clear that his heart never beats, so he can't like anyone or love anyone with a heart that beats erratically like a human. In-ha ignored everything. She comforted herself that she was only bitten bitten by a mosquito on her lip. The next morning, Gu-won told Dong-seok everything. He was still wondering about In-ha, from her opening the coffin lid to the bite on her neck. Every time she was in danger, he would get a headache, as if there was some connection between them. At this time, Dong-seok received a phone call from a customer. They complained that there was a hair in the spicy rice cake. He immediately apologized and promised to change it right away. Gu-won heard about the high school where In-ha was working, so he immediately wanted to deliver food instead of Dong-seok. After he finished delivering the food, the teacher asked Gu-won to help him throw out the trash. Outside, this woman forced Gu-won to sort the trash. When they found out that Gu-won was also looking for a job, they immediately hired him to work with them. Gu-won wore work clothes, but it did not reduce his handsomeness. The older women here also had to admire him. When entering the school, Gu-won continued to attract the eyes of all the female students. The golden age like before had returned to him. Suddenly, Gu-won was hit by a male student and fell to the ground. He immediately realized that he was the young man who had driven into him a few days ago. But this male student did not care about him and immediately left. In-ha was startled when she knew that Gu-won was working in this school, and she advised him to quit his job immediately. She was afraid that a vampire like him would harm the students, but he absolutely did not want to quit. That night, Do-sik had a date with In-ha. He took her to a bar with no customers. He said that this restaurant belongs to his company. The restaurant has not officially opened yet, and school will start next week. Do-sik has feelings for In-ha, so he wants to invite her here first. On the other side, Young-nam is waiting for Gu-won at home. Here, Gu-won says that he feels Hae-seon from In-ha's blood. The strange thing is that from appearance to personality, they are not similar at all. Young-nam wants to see Gu-won's hand. He feels something unusual in Gu-won. He advises Gu-won not to crave In-ha's blood anymore because her blood is poisonous. But he says that if Gu-won drinks her blood when she is in love, Gu-won will be able to become human. After dinner, Do-sik takes In-ha home. He also gives her a gift. Gu-won upstairs has seen everything. When In-ha entered the house, she heard Gu-won's meaningful words, such as the smell of alcohol was unpleasant, and that standing outside laughing like that would make the neighbors gossip. She intended to blame him for eavesdropping on other people's conversations, but he replied that his hearing was just more sensitive than normal people. The next day, In-ha accidentally heard the conversation between Gu-won and the female janitor. He saw that her leg was hurting, so he advised her to go to the medical room to rest for a while, and he even did the work she left behind. In the medical room, the female janitor kept praising him. She said that Gu-won was truly a good person, a rare young man in this day and age. He wasn't afraid to carry heavy things, and he also knew how to respect his elders. Hearing this, In-ha began to have more positive thoughts about Gu-won. On the other side, Gu-won encountered the male student again, who threw a pack of cigarettes in front of Gu-won with a challenging expression. Gu-won followed where the group of students had just left. There are only beer bottles and cigarette butts here. Before he could clean up, someone called his name from the other side. The remaining cigarette butts slowly caught fire, and after a while, the fire had spread throughout the area. Firefighters were on the scene to put out the fire. On the other side, a group of students were looking for a way to escape punishment, and the male student suddenly thought of a way to deal with it when he remembered Gu-won. Right after that, Gu-won was called into the principal's office to talk. He claimed that Gu-won was the one who smoked and caused the fire. Although Gu-won repeatedly denied this, the principal said that the students had seen him do it. Gu-won knew very well that the male student was the one who blamed him. The other janitors also stood up to defend him, but the principal did not listen to those explanations. He would file a complaint for Gu-won to compensate for the damages here. Right after that, In-ha pulled the male student in. She showed his hand to the principal to smell, and it really smelled of cigarettes. Next, In-ha took out the security camera footage, and at this point he could no longer deny it. On the other side, Do-sik is going to the airport to pick up a girl. He calls her Director Hae-won, but the special thing is that her face looks exactly like Hae-seon, the person Gu-won is looking for. Gu-won looks into In-ha's eyes. He still feels that this girl has something very similar to Hae-seon. He calls out the name of his past lover, making In-ha very confused. In-ha is afraid that Gu-won will kiss her again like a few days ago, so she immediately takes out pepper spray and sprays it on his face. She is surprised that it works on vampires. Gu-won seems to be in great pain. She sprays him in the face a few more times. A moment later, In-ha apologizes. She explains that because he is standing too close, she is scared. At this time, he tells In-ha about the girl Hae-seon. Many years ago, Hae-seon used her life to save him. In-ha wondered why he called her Hae-seon. Did Hae-seon look like her? Gu-won said that they didn't look like each other at all. Before she died, the two promised to meet again in the next life, and they would love each other with their hearts beating wildly. Because of that, he always wanted to become human. But Hae-in suddenly appeared and opened the coffin a day early, before the 100 years were up. In-ha also apologized for that and explained that it was not her intention. Gu-won continued that the moment she opened the coffin, he thought she was Hae-seon, and he felt it more clearly every time she was in danger. In-ha thought that sounded absurd. Last time he said she was the descendant of his housekeeper. Now he said she was his lover from his previous life. Gu-won said that the day he kissed her, he felt Hae-seon in her blood. In-ha still couldn't believe those absurd things. She even asked Gu-won if he was a film editor. This life was enough to make her miserable, but he kept talking nonsense about his previous life. In-ha also said that if she was Hae-seon, she would have died because of him in her previous this life, so he should let her go in this life. But he followed her from one life to the next. Nowadays, his actions are also considered a crime.